Hi, I'm Ken Gableman, a member of the Dothan Computer and Technology Users Group in Southeast Alabama. My presentation today concerns the availability and types of free software for the Windows platform. If you're interested in doing more than web browsing, email, and video streaming, software applications can get pricey. MS Office, QuickBooks, Photoshop, WordPerfect, and Dreamweaver are not cheap, and with the ascendancy of the cloud, purchase price has evolved into a monthly charge if you have enough bandwidth for decent performance. The Internet has provided individual software developers with many low-cost marketing strategies, not to be confused with that misused word free, like Tryware. Free to download, install, and try out for limited time, after which it stops working. Botherware. Annoying messages imploring you for money, sometimes to reinstate functionality or an upgrading capability. Crapware, which is similar to Tryware. They are found on new machines bought at retail. McAfee and Norton antivirus are popular crapwares. They require substantial effort to remove if you don't want to purchase them. And then there is spyware. Often camouflaged as browser toolbars, they track your web usage, selling your preferences to advertisers with a complex scheme of directed commercials. I will concentrate on freeware, application software at absolutely no cost to you. No spyware, no panhandling, no advertisements, as long as you download them from the proper sites. A special subset of freeware is Open Source Foundation and the GNU license. Users are free to use the packages, sometimes under a few restrictions. What sets OSF apart is that the source code is also publicly available, and the user agrees that any changes stay public and free, including the source. A large international group is usually involved in producing the packages, so there is support for the end user. So let's get started. I'm sure you've seen the commercial, a cute chick with a suspiciously Russian accent, a schmarmy smile that says, I haven't the slightest idea how your PC got screwed up, or the chubby guy in the cheap suit with a 3 days growth on his face that looked like he hasn't slept since he last shaved, threatening to throw your laptop on a heap of old IBM 5150s, so you download the free software and run it, and it reports 10,381 issues and demands $50 to fix it all. What you really need is CCleaner. Before we start, make a restore point. Control panel, system protection, create. We'll name it before CC Cleaner. And create. CCleaner has 4 menu items: Cleaner, Registry, Tools, and Options. First one, Cleaner. Cleaner analyzes and cleans dead files from Windows components and applications. In the old days of dial-up and 1200 baud modems, your browser stored all the graphics making up a web page in a disk cache to save time when you visit the page again. Webmasters would set the freshness time period up to 14 days. With today's broadband speeds, this time savings is questionable, and I've seen webmasters set graphic elements to go stale in 45 minutes. If we look at the Windows component, we see Internet Explorer with the types of files that it's going to be looking to clean. Windows Explorer, Recycle Bin, temporary files, the clipboard memory dumps, check disk file fragments, and log files. And Windows Event Logs. Under the Application tab, we have all our web browsers, applications like Adobe, McAfee, MS Office, Office 2007, Audacity, FileZilla, Smart FTP, Windows Live Messenger, all of those at one point or another create temporary files or caches. So you click on Analyze, and you'll get a complete analysis of all the files that it wants to delete. Here I've just recently removed some AVI files, so in the recycle bin I've got 5 gigs. If you wish, you can also look at a detailed view. After reviewing the selected files for deletion, run the cleaner. You'll get a warning message, and then cleaner will delete all the selected files. When completed, you get a list of all the files that were deleted. Registry cleaner. Remember DOS? Back then, to install DLLs, we used config.sys. Screw this file up and your machine doesn't boot. With Windows, Microsoft devised a compact database called the registry, or Hive, to put all this weird developer type stuff the OS needs to deal with applications. When we uninstall an application, the developer is primarily concerned with removing his proprietary files from your disk. After that, he could care less about the registry entries. The code that would have read them is gone. Over time, the registry accumulates gobs of dead items. Here are checkboxes in which CCleaner will look at to determine whether a registry entry is deletable. We then scan for issues. We now see the candidates for CCleaner to remove. We've already backed up. You can go through them one at a time. Or unselect items that you're not sure about. And fix all the registry entries that you've selected. Tools. Ever come across an app that refuses to uninstall? CCleaner will uninstall it. Select on it. In the context menu, you have a Run Uninstaller. You could also rename the entry or delete it from the Components window. Startup. Startup shows you what is being launched during your boots and logins. Be careful, not everything that looks malicious is. For instance, this entry here, SNPSTD3, is actually a standard webcam driver. You can click on any item, select it in the context menu. You can either disable the launch, delete it from startup, or look at its registry entries. File Finder. Find file names on your hard drive based on name, size, modified date. You have ignore options and include folders or exclude folders. System Restore. Here are all the restore points currently on the system. You can select one and remove it, saving you some space. Drive Wiper. There are programs out there that can reconstitute deleted files. Now that you removed all that stuff and emptied the trash, you can run wiper to completely obliterate your disk's free space of deleted files. Or you can wipe the entire drive, either way, so that you pass muster with your local police department's forensic unit. You can either perform a simple one overwrite pass of either free space or the entire hard drive, or a very complex 35 passes, which will ensure that absolutely no files can be recovered. AVG Antiviral Free has continuously outperformed antiviral software you can buy. If you have problems sending money to a company whose founder lives in Central America and shoots owners of barking dogs, you might want to try this program. After installation, you'll find AVX in the system tray. AVX went Metro. The suck-ups. Let's look at emails. Settings. Here are the settings available in the free version. Check incoming or outgoing mail. Use heuristics. Report potentially unwanted. I don't have report enhanced set on. Let's look at computer. This is where your scan options are. Let's look at settings. Ask me before removing threats. Report potentially unwanted programs and spyware. Let's set report enhanced set of potentially unwanted programs. Don't necessarily want files on close. It's a good idea to scan the boot sector of removable media. If you're infected, no sense in spreading it. Again, we use heuristics. We want to scan files that are referred to in the registry, and we're going to do a thorough scan. And let's look at some scan options. You can manage your scan schedules. You can scan specific files or folders. One of the things AVX does is scan your computer for rootkits, which is a particularly nasty kind of malware that is very difficult for antivirus software to identify. Though there are known identifications of rootkits looking for infections on your computer. So if you click Scan Now, which when you load from the system tray, you typically want to do a scan, so you would immediately click there. And we see the scan in process. The Swiss Army knife of utility software is the text editor. Microsoft provides us with Notepad and WordPad. Notepad can read, display, modify, and write ASCII text files and little else. WordPad does essentially the same thing with rich format text files. Notepad++, or NPP, does the same things and so much more. But NPP is not a word processor. Yes, it was designed for software developers, but please don't hold that against it. Today, many computer users are involved to varying degrees with websites, applications, or scripts. Websites are comprised of many text files with different kinds of structures: HTML, ASP, PHP, and CSS. NPP also understands C, C++, COBOL, ASM, Fortran, Lisp, Java, Perl, Python, SQL, Visual Basic, VBA, and most every script a Windows user might need. NPP can mark up the structure, delimitate elements and inclusions, and recognize keywords.
Here is a HTML file in Notepad. Quite unremarkable, just a bunch of text. Understanding the structure of HTML, cascading style sheets, or other language structures is beyond the scope of this presentation. But using NPP is a credible first step in learning how these structures work. NPP's markup would surely be helpful to the novice who must navigate through these types of files. Here's the same file in NPP. Elements and keywords stand out. Variable value, standard text in black are all marked up. Here's a cascading style sheet in Notepad. Again, notice how everything fairly runs together. Difficult to tell the structures. No determination of variable value pairs. Here's the same file in NPP. Click on the curly bracket and it shows you its including member. NPP has a compare function. We have a split screen now that is available in NPP. We also can synchronize the vertical and horizontal scrolling. We can then go through the file and look at changes that were made. They're displayed for us in light brown. Here's another set of changes. And I'm sure every once in a while you have come across this kind of file and wondered what it contains. NPP has a hex editor. Invoke the hex editor and we now get a more intimate look at what is going on inside that file, and we can tell what is actually text and what is binary.
Webmasters are made, not born. Maybe the webmaster that took care of your club site has left, or your company is looking for someone to take over the tedious task of keeping their pages fresh. I've talked about Notepad++. Another program that could prove useful is FileZilla, an FTP client. You use it to move files to and from a remote web server. You may not need FileZilla if your site runs packaged software like WordPress, Joomla, or Drupal provided by the web host. These programs have an administrator panel built in.
The UI looks a bit complicated. There is a lot going on. Up top is your logins. Below, the left side is your local files. The right side is the remote website files. Note that the right side now says you are not connected. Let's connect. The website domain goes here, the username here, and the password here. And then click Connect. Here is a detailed log of everything that's happened in case you need to figure out what went wrong. Just remember, green is good, red is bad. Locate a place on your local machine where you want the remote files to go. It might be a good idea to make a backup copy of the remote site. Webmasters often don't leave their clients gracefully. This site uses a WordPress package provided by the web host. So let's back up those files that are unique to this site. To download the folder, simply right-click and click Download. And you'll see FileZilla has successfully downloaded all the programs that are in the folder. And here is the 2011 child folder under the folder that I prepared on my machine. We can now open that folder up and make changes to the files on the local machine. When you're done with the changes, to upload the file, simply right-click it and click Upload, or drag it and drop it. In this case, it does tell us that the file already exists, and if we want to do an overwrite. Do some reading about web hosts and FTP, be careful, and eventually you'll figure it out. Half the battle is discovering the FTP username and password.
Books. Books. I got books. I got books. I stumble over books. Books falling. I have books everywhere. I got books about books. And then came ebooks. Now I have books in my inbox. I have books in my download folder. I have books in the Gutenberg project. I have Google books. I have books in my Nook vault. I have books in my Kindle vault. I have books in my Adobe vault. Then I found Calibra. This program recognizes every ebook format ever, and it can load any e-reader device ever. Then, now, ever. I don't want to raise the ire of the men in black helicopters discussing digital rights management and how to get an ebook out of your Nook vault or your Kindle vault. That's what the internet's for.
Calibra's UI is not quite standard Windows. Darn foreigners. Here's the database. The database can be presented in sequence by author or title. What's more, the title and author can be edited so that all the authors' names look the same and the titles sort correctly. We do this by Edit Metadata. We can change the title. Here's how it's going to look. And or author. We can also change publisher, the date it's published, languages, the ISBN number, or tags. As we continue to look across the top, you can add books to the library, either from a single directory, the assumption being that there's only one book in that directory with different formats. You can add directories from directories including subdirectories, or you can add books from directories and subdirectories assuming multiple books per directory. You can add an empty book. We can convert book formats, either individually or a large group at a time. This is Calibra's own e-reader. Calibra has an excellent help. Here is how you can remove books from the library. This is where you can do library maintenance. This allows you to select books and save them to disks. Connect and share we'll get to in a minute. And in many cases, the preferences is hidden if you're not aware of this little set of double arrows. If you want to change how the inner workings of Calibra work, look and feel its behavior, adding your own columns to the database, you can make changes to the toolbar, rules for importing and exporting. You will need to use preferences if you set Calibra up to serve iTunes. So let's move a couple of books to iTunes. First we go to Connect Share and click on the entry Connect to iTunes. You'll notice now we have the iTunes device in the top menu. Calibra will even show me what books are currently in my media library. Catch Me If You Can. A couple of Orson Card books, The Enders, the Ender game series. So let's move a couple of books. How about Robert London, The Bourne Identity? And Machiavelli's The Prince. All we have to do is go to the top menu bar, click Send to Device. Let's remove the magnifier. Let's go to iTunes. There's The Bourne Identity.
"20 years ago, I bought a Billy Bass CD. I ripped it onto my PC so I could enjoy his music while working. There's nothing like steel pan music to bring back tropical memories, scorched toes in hot sand, the smell of calamine lotion on black fly bites, and peeing on jellyfish stings. Until rudely interrupted by inter-track white noise caused by some Crucian engineer unfamiliar with digital technologies. The CD's long gone. Audacity to the rescue."
Audacity is a full-featured sound recording and editing tool. I will show you just two of its abilities. First, let's remove that inter-track noise. What's on the screen is the entire track. At the beginning, you can see the red over modulation that we heard. Let's zoom in. We pick up the selection tool. And we remove the noise with our cut tool. Audacity has a player in which you can play the entire track that's in your project, or just a selection. You can also vary the speed at which it plays back. Let's now put back the track for later enjoyment. and we do this by exporting. It takes a little effort to set up Audacity to handle virtually any audio file, but the instructions are explicit, and it also has very good help files. We want to keep the tags as they are. And we're finished. Now let's create a 6-second snippet of Billy Bass's Never on Sunday to play during this presentation's trailer. We load in the track. Let's zoom in a bit. By listening to the preview, I was able to find the 6 seconds that I want to use. So let's select it. We then copy, create a new project, and paste the 6 seconds we selected back in. We can then play the selection, and when I do, I can hear that the cut we made at the beginning of the end is somewhat abrupt. So let's add an effect. Let's select the end, and apply a fade out effect. At the beginning, let's select the beginning and apply a fade in effect. And if you notice, there are myriads of effects that you can apply to your audio files. We could then play this track to ensure that it's acceptable, and then let's export it as an MP3. We don't need tags for this. And you'll be able to enjoy this music in a few moments as it plays during the trailer. Bahama Mama, anyone?
Your PC's hard drive has a number associated with it, MTBF, or mean time between failure. This number means that your hard drive is going to eventually fail. Don't bet against it. You don't want to lose everything that's on your drive, so back it up. The simplest and cheapest way to back up is with Microsoft System Backup and DVDs. But when you use optical discs, System Backup does not copy off the Windows folders or boot sectors. Some files are just too big. You must have a separate system image of your drive, or you must reinstall Windows after a crashed disk before restoring your System Backup. You risk losing any stuff that you did not include in your System Backup, and you must redo all your Windows updates. Microsoft provides a way to generate a system image with optical discs. For a typical machine with a 100 gig hard drive that's 3/4 full, that's 18 DVDs. The downside is making the image on DVDs is slow and tedious. The upside is that it's cheap. And now your kids know what to get you for Christmas and your birthday. A costlier alternative is a USB external drive. A 3 terabyte internal drive can be found on sale for under $100, and external drive kits can be found on Amazon and eBay for around $20. It's a power supply, interface circuit, and metal enclosure. You plug it in, it snaps together, and now you have something like this. When you're not backing up, disconnect the external drive completely. The most likely reason for a computer failure is a power surge or a lightning strike. The spike can get in by a power, printer, video, phone, internet, or network cables. I'll be showing you an imaging app shortly that will image your hard drive with good compression. This task will take about 5 hours for 100 gigs. Set Windows Backup to save all users, user libraries, program files, and program data folders, and then schedule it to run weekly. I have moved my large libraries, my photo gallery, iTunes library, and ebook library to a folder under the root, and I back them up separately. This keeps the system backup small and fast. As you add to your libraries, keep your new files in My Music, My Photos, and My Documents. System backup will save them. After I back up my libraries, I delete the files out of my user account. I will demonstrate a versatile disk burning app called CD Burn XP that can span optical disks. An advantage of backing up your libraries with CD Burn XP is that your libraries are now portable. The disks can be read by any system, so you can take them over to friends and family to share. Do you hear something?
Drive Image XML allows you to make hot images of your hard drive. You can continue to work. Images are stored in XML. Okay, it sounds good. So let's click Backup. Select the drive you want to image. That would be drive C. Drive E is my USB external drive. Drive Image gives you detailed information in case you are uncertain which drive to select. Click Next. The click will start a wizard. You can put your image in a directory and burn it later. I will select the USB external drive. You can also change the file name for the backup. Select RAW mode to write every sector on your hard drive. You will not be able to download to a smaller drive later. FAT file systems can't handle files larger than 4 gigs. For our purposes, both drives should be NTFS, so let's leave split large files unchecked. Compression. None. The image will be slightly larger than your drive. XML has overhead. Fast will apply some compression. The imaging process will go quickly. Good. Highly compressed but slow. Remember, 5 hours for about 100 gigs. However, the compression could go 1,000 to 1. Volume locking locks your system up for the entire backup. Volume sharing allows you to keep working. If using good compression, run it overnight locked up. You might have to shut down some services to get volume locking to work. VSS has some overhead to it. Click Next, and the imaging process starts. Drive to drive will create a working copy of your drive on another drive. Restore will put an image back on a drive. Be careful. CD Burn XP is a full-featured burning app. Notice you can burn audio and video discs for players, burn ISO images to optical discs, or make copies. We will concern ourselves with data discs. The user interface is drag and drop. I'll drag and drop the folders I want to back up. We're now ready to burn. After a short delay, you'll see a message box. Note that it wants to record 6.5 gigabytes, but there's only 4.38 gigabytes present, so we go to disk spanning. Our options is to use as few disks as possible, or do not split folder contents unnecessarily, while we want to use as few disks as possible. Now we can either burn or save our 2 disk images as ISO and burn them later. So let's burn. Our disks are completed. Let's look at the second disk in Windows Explorer. As you can see, the files are normal files, and they'll be easily read by any machine. This presentation was created using a Canon A630 PowerShot 8 megapixel digital camera with an 8 gig SD card. It wasn't free, but it was lying around. Cam Studio, a free Windows screen and audio recorder, work in progress. Machete Lite, a free AVI video editor. Free Microsoft Movie Maker. A free Google Drive account, 15 gigabytes of internet storage for our large video files. Free Google Gmail account to distribute the Google Drive file links, bypassing our email provider's file size limits for email attachments. A free YouTube account to stream the 300 megabyte MP4 for previewing by our members. A free WordPress package, our club website, to host the YouTube link. And a special shout out to our web host provider, DreamHost.